All right, let's get everybody else up in here before it's officially time to start the show. It is Thursday morning. We got one check mark. We got two. All right, guys. Happy Thursday. It is February 10th, 7:32 a.m. Means it's time for an episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell and joined by, as always, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you feeling this morning? Good to see you.
Broncos for breakfast. I'm
Oh my
feeling
God.
good.
I haven't had a sip yet. This is going to be the first
Yeah,
one.
I haven't either. This is my first one, so I try and get some stuff done, so that the coffee is hot and we can have coffee together. Coffee talk with it. You've seen enough Saturday Night Live clips on YouTube to probably remember coffee talk.
Coffee talk. Yes, I have. I do remember that one. Could you do me a favor real quick and tap your mic where the sound is coming from? It's not coming through that right now.
It's not coming through this right now. All right.
Nope. You just sound a little bit boomy. Makes me think it's your computer, not your mic.
Yeah, I didn't. It didn't sound great yesterday either. I noticed.
So,
webcam. There we go. Let's try. See if that sounds any better.
Oh my God, sound like an angel there. There we go. Perfect. All right.
I noticed when I heard my audio last night, I was like, maybe my gain's up a little too high.
Nope. That's
So I turned it down some. So thank you for noticing that.
Yeah, no problem.
I noticed last night it didn't sound quite right when I was doing the edit after the fact.
You sound great now.
For those of y'all that listen on our pod, and evidently the podcast, the After the Listen podcast, is going really, really well. So thank you for those of you that we don't get to thank in person that listen after the fact. Hit us up on Twitter. Find us and say hi. We'd love to know more of y'all at BroncosCountry.
Yeah, please do. Podcast was the first medium I dabbled in, so thank you guys very much. And if you are listening on iTunes after the fact, make sure you're leaving the rating and 5-star review. Helps us a lot. Raymond Glass coming in with is that the Euro sign? I can't tell.
That is the Euro.
Okay, it looks a little different to me for some reason. But the €5 coming in with a super sticker. Thank you so much, Raymond Glass, kicking us off right with the €5. Hope you're doing well. And man, that's great about this show. I mean, obviously, one of the reasons we're probably getting a lot of podcast listeners after the fact is that we're in the morning. A lot of people are kind of getting their day going, maybe, not able to pull up the stream, et cetera, et cetera. But we are international, baby. Cambodia, across the pond. That's what's great about this show is we really do tap into that international market, and we love you guys for that. It's a lot of fun to see you guys. Raymond, if you have any questions for us, make sure you hit us up. Luke Wright coming in too. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Not Broncos related, but there's a fun UFC card this weekend. Scott, you ever been into UFC? I bought the video game, and I would play my friends in it in like high school, and it would always end up with us just like physically fighting each other because we'd get so frustrated at losing the game.
I appreciate it, but I never really got into it because it kind of started as pay-per-view, So we do, when I was, in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff, we'd have boxing parties, where we do that type of thing. But, we all watch boxing growing up. And the fact that UFC kind of started behind a paywall kind of shielded me from it a little bit. So I haven't watched a ton of it. I've got enormous respect for what they do. And I've said a zillion times, I think it's a lot safer than boxing.
Yeah.
Boxing is, hey, I'm gonna knock you out and give you a concussion. If you can get up on an 8 count, we're gonna do it again. It's like, you're gonna get bloodied, you're gonna get hurt, but they're not killing people, in MMA the way they do in boxing. So I think it's amazing personally.
Yeah, it is a pretty cool sport, and I'm glad that there is some level of fighting. And again, talking about it, love how international it is. It really brings it gives people chances across the globe and gives them a chance to, put their name out there, make a living. And I really appreciate that. Really appreciate Mark Schrader coming in. Mark has been joining us in the mornings. No podcast from Mark. He says, I'm here for the live stream. And he says, good morning, guys. Good morning to you, Mark, looking spiffy in that suit. Always looking super official. Sometimes when I see Mark give those super chats, I feel like I need to go put on a tux or something just to classy up the room.
I feel a little I feel way underdressed wearing a hat. 78, I forgot his full name, like 78 Lead or something asked me yesterday what hat this was. This is a Diamondbacks hat. I call it my stealth Diamondbacks hat because you can't really see it. My son plays for former Major League Todd Green and his academy, TG Diamondbacks. So I'm a Diamondbacks guy for sure. And Antonio says, what I meant about the concussion is if you get knocked, to kind of follow up on this with UFC, if you get dazed, the fight's over. That's what I mean. You don't get back up and, typically, if you get stunned, it's over. They're not going to say, okay, let's, can you keep going? Once somebody basically goes limp or anything like that, the fight's done. As opposed to boxing, if you can shake it off and get going again, they're going to keep beating on your head. It's just, for a long time, I don't think there were any deaths in UFC or MMA where, they're killing guys all the time in boxing because of that.
Yep. Thank you for joining us, Antonio Jones. Great to see you, buddy. I'm just going to run through some real quick. We'll get to, let's get Jacob Foster first. No, Jacob with the kid on his shoulders, way more important. With the,
sorry. He bought his coffee.
EJ, we love you, EJ. We'll get to
Jacob's
EJ.
buying his coffee this morning.
With that note, I think I put in a little bit too much creamer. Scott, I'm soft. I like my dairy in my coffee. I can drink it black in like the backcountry. That's about it, because you can't bring creamer in the backcountry. But this is already my second cup. I chugged that first one. I needed it so bad.
Black coffee. I put just a hint, just a tiny hint of sweetener in it now. That's it. Otherwise, it's pretty much straight black. But I got 20 years on you, so.
Yeah, I didn't drink coffee until grad school, like an idiot. I went through undergrad, and I'm like, you know what? 5-hour energies and monsters will do the trick. And my God, that I regretted that one almost every time, but made it through. So I guess not too much regret.
I didn't start drinking coffee until about 2006. I was probably 34, 35 years old before I started drinking coffee.
Okay. Well, there you go. That's why we're still here. That's why we're doing the football stuff. You didn't drink it too young. Okay. We got EJ in the house. Good morning, Nick and Scott. Of course, we got DWI guys. Ethan, good morning. Jensen, Broncos Country. US Dave, Buenos Dias, all. Dave, because we're international, I'm going to challenge you. We need some new languages in here. Just keep it coming every day. Let's Guten Tag, German. I took French. I don't even remember. Jeremy Sean's in the house. Good morning, all. Awesome to see you, Jeremy. Dave Glassman with the hearts. Thank you, Dave. Sunny days. Thumbs up there, Sunny. How you doing? Tim Greenwood. It's been a second. Hope you're doing well. Another good morning with Broncos for breakfast. Jeremy Bales. I don't recognize this name, but good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning from Long Beach.
Love Long Beach.
Is that California or Florida?
Yeah. It's it's down once you get south of Hermosa and all those type of stuff. You go just a little bit farther, and before you get into the Orange County areas where the rest is Long Beach. So Long Beach is some great football there. Long Beach Poly is a huge football school, nationally known. So I'm a big fan of Long Beach. I was a member of the Long Beach Aquarium the whole time I was out in California for 9 years.
Aquariums, a lot of fun. I need to go to the Seattle one sometime. Worm for Mayor saying just finished last night's show, rolling straight into Broncos for breakfast. Good morning, guys. Mr. Sir McLovin, it's been a bit on Twitch. Hope you're doing well. Good morning, fellas. It's the best morning show. We're the only morning show on this one, so we'll take it. But we appreciate it so much. It's like, you're my favorite son. It's like, I'm your only son.
Hey, there's plenty of options. Yes, just maybe totally. Not Broncos options. So thanks for spending the time with us.
I just really like to talk down about myself. Like, oh, you're throwing us compliments. Let me just tear that one down real quick because I'm uncomfortable. Good morning, Broncos Country. Great to see you, Trevor. We got Ashton saying, what's each of your guys' favorite breakfast? Oh, man, I really just love a good classic breakfast. Honest to God, eggs, bacon or sausage, a good crispy hash brown with it as well, and wheat toast. If we're getting something fancy, I do love a French toast or something every once in a while, but just a good classic hearty breakfast plate. And I'll go anyway too. What is it? Biscuits and gravy, super freaking good. Anything with like a green chili sauce. I love breakfast.
Lots. That's my favorite. Lots. I like lots of food. And a good omelet with some French toast, something like that. I make pancakes. I make a lot of pancakes and waffles and like to experiment. So if you're at my house, I'll make you some. I'll cut up some fruit and make you some pancakes and waffles. So
my wife really loves the Denver omelet, so it was meant to be. So I want to give a shout out to Denver on that one. Shane Daniels, morning, non-Broncos related. Who are you guys pulling for this weekend? I am personally pulling for the Bengals just because I am not a Los Angeles person per se, even though Von Miller is over there. It'd be great for Von Miller to win another one. I'd be really happy for a lot of individuals on that Rams team. I do not like Stan Kroenke at all, the owner of the Rams. I'm not pulling for him. And Cincinnati, I don't think has ever won a Super Bowl. So the thing I'm cheering for is a good game. If we can get a good game that's exciting throughout the 4 quarters, I really don't care who wins. And also no injuries. I guess it's the other big one. But I guess I'm leaning Bengals a little bit. That said, it does kind of concern me because, Scott, I don't know if you've looked at the landscape of the AFC and the NFC recently. AFC is freaking insanely tough, and it's these young quarterbacks. And if Burrow wins one now, with Patrick Mahomes already winning one, and Allen and Herbert upcoming, I mean, God bless the AFC is stacked.
It'll be a little bit like when I was growing up. I think the NFC won 12 or 14 straight, when I was in the 80s and 90s. Shane, thanks for the stars too, my friend.
Yeah, of course.
I would normally say Bengals straight out, but I'm so tired. I'm such a Matthew Stafford fan, having watched him, and he was, five-star quarterback and all this type of stuff. And the fact that he's never been to a Pro Bowl, I want Matthew Stafford to win. I really do. Burrow, I think, is going to get plenty of chances. And Sean McVay went to Marist High School. I covered him in high school. He's, 20 minutes from my house, having the local kid. I mean, he even looks like an LA guy. But I really like Sean McVay. I think I can root for him. But otherwise, I would always root for anything Cincinnati over LA. I mean, middle America, blue collar town versus, the glitz and glam of LA. So I won't. I'm rooting. I know it sounds silly, but I'm really rooting for, again, a good game in both of these teams. I'll be happy for whoever wins this game. I just want it to be. I don't want any officiating controversies, nothing like that. I want it to be a good, clean game, good competitive football. But I'm probably, I will find my heart rooting for Matthew Stafford.
I mean, just a good game. Also, the side beneficiary of the Rams losing is maybe we'll get another Andrew Whitworth super nihilistic quote. That I really enjoyed that the last time they lost. Like, oh, how you feeling coming off the Super Bowl loss? It's like, it doesn't matter. We're all gonna die. It's just a football game. Death is inevitable. It's like, oh my God, Andrew. Like, I know you're the oldest, non-specialist player in the NFL, but you're not that close to death, buddy. Like, you're still pretty damn good.
In the grand scheme of things, it's just a game.
Yeah, I know, but
what
it was
just doing here.
It was so funny. I was dying. Mr. Sir McLovin saying, Nick, are you an N64 fan? I grew up on the original PlayStation, but my college roommates had an N64, and we would play and drink and have a lot of fun playing, obviously, Mario Kart, and my favorite was Super Smash. We would play hours of Super Smash Brothers, especially over the breaks and stuff when it was winter and cold. You couldn't do anything really outside. Super Smash. I was a Donkey Kong guy. I'm in that. You're like, oh, he's slow. He's an absolute tank for damage, and his grab is a cheat code. So I'm Donkey Kong. Did you play, Scott? You were much more of the hockey games.
I was Sega. I mean, I had one of the original Ataris, so I was an Atari kid. Come home from school, play some Atari before, the middle school kids would get home, and then I'd go outside and play, and then went to a Commodore 64. Why were there 64 and everything? They're all 64 bits, like Atari 64, then I had a Commodore, my first computer, so I played a lot of computer games until I went to the Sega Genesis in college. And if they had online gaming, I would have been pro. I would have been a pro hockey player, EA Sports 95 hockey. I could have made a living doing that. I'm not joking about that. That's, the fraternity brothers, little brothers would walk in like, oh, I'm going to kill you. I'm like, it's 9 a.m. I've already got a 12-pack of beer open, and I'm halfway through on a Saturday playing hockey. What do you think I do?
This is my life.
You're good at this. I'm like, yeah.
I used to work.
Do much else. I don't go to school.
In the summertime, I worked for a program called Upward Bound, where I was a tutor and a counselor for a bunch of, they'd be first generation or low socioeconomic kids in high school trying to go to college. And then it was a summer school essentially to give them college credits and classes and whatnot. And a lot of international students. And I would host a FIFA tournaments and do a World Cup bracket and whatnot, because they'd stay in the dorms and whatnot. So we had a lot of free time and whatnot. And every summer, man, that would talk about some high emotional feelings, playing FIFA with a bunch of high school aged young men against each other. I mean, gosh, this very, very.
You walk into a Best Buy, you'd be in your 20s. I'm 25, 30 years old or something, and pull up next to, a 12-year-old kid playing something, and you pick up, hey, can I play? He's like, yeah, sure. And you whip his ass. It's like, you're good at this. I'm like, I might be an old guy, but I'm the first generation of gamer. This age, I was born in 73, so 1980, 7 years old and up was when the consoles started hitting. I'm a first generation gamer. So I've played a few video games.
That's why we're on the internet, guys. It was the national transition for us. We got Tommy Simmers, a little bit more of a serious comment here from Tommy. Prayers to the town of Bridgewater as we laid the officers who gave their lives to rest yesterday. Funeral was held out at the James Madison University, I'm going to assume, Convention Center.
James Madison.
So, yep, Tommy, bringing us back down to earth here. Definitely wanted to give you a shout out on that one, and those officers a shout out as well. Leroy Williams coming in. Good morning, guys. Mile high salute. I have a question. The defensive coordinator position might go to Evero. It sounds like, again, I'm afraid to say this because every single time I've said this, it feels like it's gone the other way. Dan Quinn, he's definitely the odds-on favorite. Evero sounds like it's the odds-on favorite. It'd be a shock if it wasn't him.
And Nick, that's why it's gone quiet.
Yeah,
it's done.
Yep.
It's gone quiet. I told y'all at the beginning of this search, if it goes quiet, it means you've got your guy and he's still in the playoffs.
Yep.
Said that about the head coaching position. I'll say the same thing about the defensive coordinator position. It's gone quiet because you're waiting you're waiting for the Super Bowl to be over before you can name your guy.
Yep. Totally. He continues on. Do you think we need to go with a more experienced play caller or go with the young ideas? I think that this is going to be such a cop-out answer, but it doesn't really matter to me in one way or the other. The coaches will succeed or fail based on their own validity, not really as much as their experience. Broncos are definitely gathering one of the most inexperienced staffs in football, but I believe that was the case with Sean McVay and the Rams early on. He was one of the not super fought after coaches in that coaching cycle, and he ends up being arguably the best. Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, I'll let you fight amongst yourselves on that one. But I don't think it matters as much. And it's also, am I concerned about the inexperience for the Broncos coaching staff? Yes, but also, we just don't know. It's not like a college player or you're bringing in a veteran where there's years of tape where they're doing one assignment that's really easy to analyze to see if they're doing well or not. We don't know these guys' responsibilities. Their jobs are changing a bit. Maybe Evero will come in and be incredible. Brandon Staley went from defensive back coach and assistant defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator to head coach in 3 seasons because he was young and brilliant. So who knows with Evero? I do like a lot of the guys he's worked under. It does sound like the Broncos are going to stick with the scheme they did with Vic Fangio overall. I mean, obviously it'll probably be its own iteration of it. Every team kind of does their own thing with their head coach or with their coordinators, but I'm excited to bring him in here, and I'm excited about the young ideas because he's worked under some really, really good defensive minds. So it'll be fun, but wait and see on how good it is.
And I feel like, a defensive coach would scoff at my ignorance, but I don't think it's as important as, say, it's the offensive play calling. Offensive play calling to me is much more about rhythm and play to play, whereas the defense is about the scheme and the people you've got in place.
Mm-hmm.
Do I bring pressure or not? Do I disguise this or not? Do I try and bring him from this side or this side? I don't think it's as complicated as offense as far as getting it right. And again, part of that has to do with if I've got one guy that does his job well on defense, I could have called the wrong play.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter. You call the wrong play for the most part on offense, or one guy, your left tackle falls down or your center screws it up, the play's over. But, if I've got the right guys on defense and I give them the freedom to make plays, I should be a pretty good play caller. I can have the wrong, oh crap, we're in cover 0 and Tyreek Hill got behind everybody. Well, that's okay. Bradley Chubb just sacked the quarterback. We're all right. So I'm not too worried about it. It's Leroy. I think it's done. That it's gone so quiet. I think the DC position does go to Evero.
Yeah, the one thing I will push back a little bit on what you said, Scott, about the defensive coordinator. I agree with you that the play to play is probably not as important, but the game plan and preparation week to week is vastly important. To be able to pick out what other
to look for. And like I said, I would expect a defensive coach to scoff at my ignorance. I'm like, you have no idea. I'm like, well, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right. I'll admit that. It just, to me, it's like, do you bring pressure or not? Like I said, there's a zillion different ways you can do things, and it definitely is more complicated than that. But I'm more worried. I'd be more worried about a first-time play caller on offense than defense right now for me.
Yeah, and luckily the Broncos are retaining their secondary coach in Christian Page, who is thought of to be one of the better, bright young minds at that position in football. So again, makes me think that you're sticking with this match quarters heavy defense. One of my favorite things about the Vic Fangio defense too, and now it's taking place across the league, it's not just the too high look, it's the too high pre-snap look. And why does that matter? Not to get too nitty gritty with you guys, but there is a lot of, in the era of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, the pre-snap adjustments were massive. If you're showing me your hand early before the snap, I'm going to take advantage of it. Well, what we're going to do? We're going to show you the same thing in the back end. every time, and then we're going to spin safeties into coverage after the snap. And not only does that take away the pre-snap read, it also gives the quarterback more to think about in the play action game because their back is to the line. And now all of a sudden, you have one of those safeties dipping deep, one coming to the flat, a line, maybe a edge rusher dropping to the flat. So when you have that, if you're doing things with coverage post-snap, it really makes it just that much harder for the quarterback.
And how can I combat that? By going hurry up.
Yep.
I can go fast. I go fast, and then you have to worry about what I'm doing.
Yep.
If I'm going fast. So there's definitely ways to do all of those. There's more than one way to skin a cat, as y'all have heard me say before. I don't want my defenders thinking too much. I really don't. I want it simple. I want you to play free because anticipation and playing with freedom is worth speed. Yeah. I don't want you thinking too much.
I want a little bit of thinking from a back seven, gonna be honest, just with how much zone coverage matters here and how much you're gonna need to make confusion for Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. But my front four especially, get it. Let's get it. But again, I'm more of the pocket country guy with my guys. I want the power rushers with the length, keep Patrick Mahomes contained because he's going to get greedy and get anxious if he's sitting there. Why hasn't the pressure come yet while the Indiana Jones walls are caving in on me? That's my ideal for stopping Mahomes and Herbert. Speaking of Herb, Herb Davis coming in on Facebook. Good to see you, Herb. Good morning, Broncos for breakfast. Good morning to you, Herb. It's great to see you. Falling Slots in the house saying, howdy, Broncos country. Hope you all are having a good day. Got weird weather in Cincy right now. Almost 60 degrees in the sun, but 1.5 inches of ice and snow everywhere. That will turn into a sloppy, fun mess pretty soon. And honestly, you just gave me another reason to cheer for the Bengals because I want to see people in the street in their swimsuits slopping around in the ice and snow.
If it's 60, you won't be around on Sunday.
No, that's very true. Don't recognize this name. David Yonkin, morning from Lakeland, Florida, Broncos fan for 30 plus. You got a few years on me there.
Nice. I've got a lot of family in Lakeland, actually. The Miller family. Seth and Adam are my brother-in-law. Mark Miller runs is involved in a law practice down there. So good folks in Lakeland. And actually mentioned Long Beach Poly early, so I did a best of, and the Lakeland Dreadnoughts with Chris Rainey and the Pouncey Boys. That's the best high school football team I ever saw.
Wow. Okay. Let's keep it going here. Marlon Walker showering us with some kindness here. Good morning to my favorite MHH duo. This is a big compliment to Scott. This is a compliment and a slight to me because I'm in 2 other shows. So I guess thank you, Scott, for letting me tag along. No, thank you so much for the comment, Marlon. We appreciate you. Mark Schrader coming in, looking fancy there with the suit.
What's your guys' big stars? Mark coming in, jacking up the big stars. So this was a big stars in the background. Thank you, Mark.
I'm gonna drink some coffee while I get to this one.
Yeah, I'll read this one. So, what are your best guesses to who will be starting quarterback on week 1? Now, for me, I feel like it's about a 30% chance that it's Drew Lock, which for me puts him as the favorite.
Yep.
So I would say the favorite is not Drew Lock, but the favorite of any individual for me would probably be Drew Lock because you'd be talking about maybe, all right, 15% Aaron Rodgers, 10% Russell Wilson, 5% Marcus Mariota, something along those lines. So my best guess, if I had to bet on anybody right now, I'd say Drew Lock. And that's pretty easy because he's the only one under contract. If you're starting tomorrow, he's your only choice.
Yep.
But there's a lot of time between now and then. So, say, 5% Kenny Pickett, 3% Malik Willis, all those guys. So I'd say it's about 30% that it's Drew Lock, which puts him as the favorite.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right there to probably be Drew Lock's the favorite. The other thing that makes me lean into Drew Lock being the favorite for week 1 specifically is that I think he's also probably the starter if you're drafting a quarterback in the first round. So it's a double dipping there, but I'm going to lean into the sunshine here, and I'm going to just manifest Aaron Rodgers week 1 starter for the Broncos. Because why not, right? Just why not? Let's have some fun. Victor Rios, good morning, guys. Good to see you. Man, I am falling behind on the super chats here. Let's make sure we're getting everybody here. Jeremy, how do you send stars through Facebook? Maybe Scott can help you with that one. I know you got a link.
Jeremy, it has to be through the Mile High Huddle main account. So let me. I'm going to drop that one on the link real quick, Jeremy. And this one, for if you're watching, because they're on several of them, it's going to go to everybody. So I apologize. It's going to jump to everybody. But that's the main Mile High Huddle page. And there's like 3 of them you can watch, but there's only one of them that is monetized like that with stars. So you also don't get the Facebook user like you see sometimes, but it makes it pretty easy once you see on there. And Jeremy, they might have already, because this came in about 15 minutes ago. And if you're on there, there's some other people that can help you out, and we'd love it if they do, because that helps us out. So thanks for asking, Jeremy.
Keeps the lights on for sure. Make sure that we're still doing the 3 morning shows here, because it's an early morning for me, guys. You guys make it worth it for me to get up. But Albert Knopper's coming in saying good morning, y'all. Great to see you. Roy Osborne, good morning from Sioux Falls, South Dakota. That's close to my stomping woods. They're pretty close there to Iowa. A Folgers breakfast blend for me this morning. Oh, Roy, let's get in the classic there. You need to get the little jingle going on. Trevor Sandel coming in saying, Nick and Scott, thoughts on Gordon's interview about Rodgers coming to Denver. Of course, Gordon would love it. Gordon wants to come back to Denver, and Gordon wants to win football games. And the best way to win football games in Denver next season is to have Aaron Rodgers under center. So he's a free agent, right? Or is he officially a free agent? Because
I don't
the league
think
year hasn't
so
started
yet, because I was wondering, I'm like, the Falcons, everybody drank, released somebody that was going to be a free agent. I'm like, well, he was going to be a free agent. That doesn't make any sense. I think it's so they could go ahead and start talking to other people. There may have been some back end reason where they didn't have to pay him an extra $50,000 or something. I don't know what it was, but they officially released a guy 2 weeks ago that was about to be a free agent. So I don't think they're quite free agents officially yet, or else we probably would have heard all over everywhere. The free agent season is now officially open. Ring the bell. Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah,
let the bidding begin.
I don't think until March the league year starts. So hopefully we'll get into that soon, and that'll be a lot of fun. God, I'm excited to see what the Broncos do there. Also, I think in March we are supposed to get resolution with Rodgers. So decision and clarity one way or the other. Anizo coming in here saying, I've said it every year since Manning left, but 2022 is the year Broncos will go 2-1 versus the Chiefs. The 2-1 sticks out to me because where is that one coming? Because
playoffs.
If the one better not be coming in the playoffs, I'm going to be upset. Okay, I agree that's where the 3 is coming from. The 1 better be in the regular season is what I'm getting at.
1 in the regular season, you lose in Kansas City. So be it. Those games don't matter.
Yeah. Yep. Travis coming in here. Great
with some stars.
With stars, of course. Travis, if it's stars, I got to put on Travis's hat. Travis sent me a hat in the mail, so I'll put it over the top there. Thank you, Travis. Morning, fellas. Love this show. Iowa Hawkeyes and Denver Broncos for life. Thank you, Travis. There's the hat. I think that'll be a bit. It's just right next to me.
Nighthawk. Now, I would almost guarantee you did not see the movie Nighthawk with Billy D. Williams and Sylvester Stallone and Rutger Hauer. Awesome. But I was a kid, so it was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen when I was, sneaking it on HBO when I'm 9 years old. So Nighthawk, check it out. Fun movie.
I would sneak like Monty Python or Animal House. Like I'd be sick and I'd have the whole thing of movies there, and I'm like, which one I've never seen? That one looks fun. Animal House. Oh my goodness, what is that? Like I was 6th grade. But we got EJ coming in, and this is a shout out to Scott as well. Thanks for the Trevor Penning video. He is just nasty, just how I like my offensive lineman. Yeah, make sure you guys are checking out Scott's YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. And a lot of videos there. Trevor Penning, I will be honest with you, he scares me a little bit. I get talking with some people. I get a little bit of Richie Incognito vibes. Good or bad, maybe, but there's just a little bit of.
What I like about him is he's under control. He might throw a little extra on you, but he's not up barking in your face about it. He's getting under people's skin. It's like it's almost like he's wrestling. Like he knocks somebody down, shoots him, and then he goes up on top of him. But then he gets up and the play's over, and it's the other guy that's up in his grill and getting mad. And Trevor just walks back and then goes back. So it's very calculated. It's a little scary that he's 6'7", 330 pounds. And in that video on my channel, Nick, and I don't know if you saw this or we talked about it much outside of the fact, but he's playing a lot of guard. I think he's actually, even at that size, he's flexible enough. He's actually a better guard right now than a tackle. I don't think he moves nearly as well as Spencer Brown did, but he certainly has the power in the short spaces that he's very, very versatile. I like him at guard, which, I don't want to guard at 9, but I certainly like the fact that if I miss on a guy that, he didn't work out a tackle, that I might have a really high level guard as well. That makes him pretty valuable.
Yeah, I agree. Versatility is key on the offensive line. It's one of the things that makes Zion Johnson so fun from Boston College. He's played all 5 spots. Probably going to be a guard in the NFL, but he took some center snaps as well. That versatility is key. DWI guys coming in, $50. Thank you so much. 50% Aaron Rodgers.
50 for 50.
I love it. 50% Aaron Rodgers is the day 1 quarterback. Tafarf. the trade for Aaron Rodgers fund. I just like to say Tafarf.
If you haven't figured it out, I'm an incredible cynic. Like I said, a Cleveland-born Atlanta sports fan, you don't get much more cynical than me.
Yep.
So if I want Aaron Rodgers to come to the Denver Broncos, which I'd love to see it. I think it'd be great. It'd be great for this community. It'd be great for the talking that we do. It'd be great for the show, which to me automatically sings no way this is going to happen, because I'm a cynical SOB, because my teams never get the guys I want, or if they do, they leave and then they lose.
Yep. Yeah, I am with you on the cynicism most times. I will say that while my immediate family's from Iowa, I originally hail from Missouri, the show me state, and by God, do I embody that. Prove it. Show me. That's the same thing with the coaching staff here, or Drew Lock, or anything. You think he's going to be great, or you think you can be great? Go out there and show me.
The only alpha team I root for, and I just chose them based on a player, not because of the team, so I didn't know anything about him, is Chelsea. Chelsea's a big money alpha team. I'm like, wow, this is actually kind of fun when they win these close games and they come back and beat the teams that are sitting there saying they're trying to hang on. I'm like, I had no idea that this could actually happen. So it's 50% for Aaron Rodgers. That'd be great. We'll see. Could be 100% before too long.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to say hello to Peter, saying, so it looks like we won't be drafting a running back until late day 3. Doubt Gordon will get to free agency after Peyton's comments. And definitely, I'm going to read. This is a great kickoff here, and I don't want to lose Kevin's Seven's comment here. But main topic today over on the Broncos media side of things, on the Broncos website, Broncos media member Eric Dalala, lead writer for them over there, had an interview with George Paton. I think this interview was probably done before the Broncos hired their head coach based on some of the comments here, but I digress. Specifically, running back, we have a quote here from George Paton about the position, and with myself and Scott being couch general managers, anything that we can get from the general manager, specifically talking about the roster in its current state, I'm all ears. This is interesting stuff. So the quote, this is George Paton. I think Javonte is a big time back. I think Melvin had a heck of a year. When those two guys are going, they're hard to stop. Obviously, both had some fumbles, and we need to clean that up. But in terms of physical runners, I thought they were two of the better runners combos in the entire league. Both are good in protection. Both can catch the ball. So I just like the way both of them go about their work. They work hard. They love ball. Melvin's infectious. I love the smile. Javonte, he's pretty quiet, but I just love the way those guys work. I think they're really talented. And again, the coaches need to evaluate it, but I like Melvin a lot. So, getting in here to it about with Peters, it does look like the Broncos would love to bring back Melvin Gordon on a cheap deal, and it sounds like Melvin Gordon would like to come back as well. But the money's got to make sense, right? That's the one where 1 year, 2 years, Melvin going to want to do that for likely what is probably his last contract. I mean, he's one of the oldest starting running backs in the NFL. Got to match up, but I'd be fine bringing Melvin Gordon back for a 2-year deal. That's $4 million a year, and that last year is essentially the last year is essentially an option year 2. If he's down for that, heck yeah, bring back Melvin Gordon. I don't give a hoot if you're cutting into Javonte Williams carries. I'd rather have Javonte Williams be more efficient per carry than rather him get the volume stats. It's way more important for him to be efficient. So,
and I think Melvin Gordon would be okay with that too.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't complaining. He's like, the one thing he said was there were times where I didn't think Melvin or either of us got the ball enough. Basically, run the ball more. We wanted the ball more, not, hey, I didn't get enough carries. He didn't say I. He was always talking about we as a unit.
Yep.
Now, the one that gets me a little bit, and this I was reminded, thankfully, it may have been you, Nick, it may have been Zach or Chad, about Mike Boone, said that he was signed because he got a good deal. I mean, a 2-year, $4 million deal for a third running back. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That he was signed before the draft. I think it was you, Nick. I remember you saying it now. He was signed before the draft. He's only got an $800,000 dead cap hit. I think you got him. I don't know that, you expect your general manager to talk good about your former players. That's their job. You're not going to talk down about them, unless you're Vic Fangio talking about your quarterback. You're not going to talk bad about them. That doesn't shine well on you. That discourages other free agents from coming and playing your way. But I think that Melvin can get a 1-year, $6 million deal, 6.5 somewhere else, maybe a 2-year deal with 6.5 guaranteed, where he plays on $6.5 million, then he's a free agent again next year. So I don't know. I'd be a little surprised if the same 3 guys were there last year. Were there last year, there again. I think if Melvin Gordon does come back, I wouldn't expect to see Boone. And if I'm Boone, I wouldn't want to come back. I'm like, guys, I don't want to be the 3rd guy and get 20 carries.
Yeah. Boone was signed prior to the draft, so you had to have your running back too. Otherwise, you're going to the draft. If I don't get one of those top guys, then I'm really exposed to the position, not where you want to be. But
thanks for the stars, Peter.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Travis, as well. We got to this one from Travis, but I guess you want me to put the hat back on.
Okay. That's right.
There we
Sorry.
go. Nighthawk. No, it's okay.
But I don't think
this
one, the Jacob coming back in with triple digit stars. So 1,200 stars from Jacob coming in. Certainly appreciate that.
That's a couple of cups of coffee. We appreciate the heck out of that, Kevin.
That's the good
Jacob.
stuff.
Yeah, that's the good stuff. That's a one small cup of coffee here in downtown Seattle. Lawrence Rivera coming in saying, "Hey guys, what's better, one owner or multiple? I see Brian Allen net is about $400 million. That would be making the poorest owner. No, kind of funny. That would be considered cash poor in the NFL owners. You know what? I'm going to be honest here. I don't know enough about how the money things work. I'm a poor middle class, 30-year-old scientist, and we're not making the big money that some people would have you believe. So Brian Allen being worth $40 million, I'm skeptical that he's only $400 million. I am skeptical that he's only worth $400 million. He probably has other assets put in other places that he could easily move around. I think it's called liquidation. Maybe is the word. I don't know about this stuff, but he has money. If he's one of the ones who can get there, he's definitely somebody that can do it. And what I think is because he's speaking out as well, there's definitely a group there, but they want Brian Allen to be the face of the investment right now for the league.
So when you do those net worth searches, they usually talk about career earnings. They don't talk about what you've done with those career earnings. My career earnings don't add up to my net worth because we've made investments and you put it in houses. And if you have companies, take whatever that he's earning from that and multiply it by about 5.
Yep.
But you talk about, the 400 million, make him one of the poorest owners. That's what the Mannings are. The Mannings are putting together a group, and the Mannings are worth about 400 to 500 as well too. Now you go find some hedge fund guy that's made us billions or somewhere in there that wants to make another billion off of another easy billion in the surefire, safest investment you could make in an NFL franchise. And you be the face and you run it. So I think Byron Allen stepping up and speaking out that he won't have any trouble finding the money to back him to get to whatever, the $4 million that it's going to take. And I think that enough pressure has been put on the league that if he's the sole black bidder, he'll get it. I really do, unless there's some stuff in his background that, would prohibit him from doing that. If they do enough search, I don't know how much they search anyway. That he would get it because there's a need, a desperate need for diversity in the room.
Yes, totally. You're correct there. Nathan, you did miss a little bit of a Mario Kart and Smash Bros. Conversation here. The other thing about Brian Allen is I think he won a lot of money in a discrimination lawsuit. I don't know if that goes into his net worth or not, but I don't know. Michael Ronquillo coming in saying, "Good morning, Nick and Scott on Broncos for breakfast. Go Broncos." Thank you so much, Michael. Appreciate you. We also got Albert coming in.
Appreciate the comment. I don't know FC20. I don't know much over than the top teams in that league that end up making Champions League. That's very cool to be pulled into youth academy at that level. You must have been a player. The best player I ever played with was on the Swedish junior national team. Was on the Swedish juniors teams. And when I was playing defense, my entire goal was, okay, I got the ball. I don't want the ball. Where's Kenneth? Find Kenneth, get him the ball, and then relax.
That's my biggest sports moment is I got dunked on by Harrison Barnes, who was the number 1 recruit in all of high school, college basketball. His year went to North Carolina and was a one and done, and then a lottery pick in the NBA. He dunked on me, and the coach took me the heck out because I just got out of the way because I didn't need that dude jumping on me and posterizing me, as the kids would say. Any more supers here? I think we need to get into some more.
Jacob's coming again, and then yes. Kevin, we'll get to Kevin too. So thanks, Jacob. Appreciate the support. When they show the stars tonight, I'll take a look, but I have a feeling for the month, Jacob's going to be top 3 for sure. Jacob, Michael, Rodney Garcia, all Mark,
Richard.
Big supporters for sure. So Kevin coming and say, Scott, on Tuesday, you said if the Christian Watson runs faster than a 4.65, you're all in. Newsflash, he ran a 4.42 2 years ago at NDSU. Haha, big fan. I'd love to see it. I want to see it, though, in a controlled environment. Everybody runs at least 2 seconds, 0.2 of a second faster than they actually do. So I want to see it in a controlled environment where he is on. I'd love to see him at the combine and do that. And again, if he's anywhere there, if he's in the 4.5s at 6'4", he's got 10-inch hands. I really like, great blocker. I put some video up on him. So big fan of his. And if he's in the 4.4s, he should be considered in the top 2 rounds at 6'4", 215 pounds. I'm not sure exactly, but he was over 200. Solid, strong, great blocker, great hands. Love the kid. So we'll see. I'm not saying he's not going to. I'm just saying I still want to see it now. What's happened between now and then? Has he gotten hurt? So I do want to see it, but he plays that way for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kevin.
Jordan Reed over at ESPN. I've had him on the Building the Broncos a couple times back when he was just starting up at the Draft Network. Now he's over at ESPN killing it. So shout out to Jordan Reed. He just actually released his first mock draft yesterday. So good for him. But he said that he wouldn't be surprised if Christian Watson sneaks his way into the back end of the first round, given what he said from scouts. So that kind of validates the speed, in my opinion.
Yeah, if he's fast enough, he's got the frame, he's got everything else. Again, what's fast enough at 6'4", basically sub 4.7, and people will lose their minds.
Yeah,
he's only a 4.6 guy. Anquan Bolden ran like a 4.85. It's much more. You've heard me say it before. If I take this out of context, I'm going to sound like a moron. But speed's overrated. You overrate those 40 times. You overrate the 40 times. Let's look at his shuttle. Let's look at everything else and the size. When you're 6'4", you don't have to be a 4.4 guy. It's a bonus. If you are, you're Calvin Johnson, you're Julio Jones, you're AJ Green. But you don't have to be one of those 3 guys to be a really, really, really good receiver in this league.
Yeah, the thing for me about the parameters when it comes to the testing is that you cannot be, if you are a super outlier compared to the norm, then I'm a little bit skeptical, right? It's like AJ Epinesa running like almost a 5.40. It's like
4.89 from Anquan Bolden.
Yeah, it's, you are betting on an outlier, and me being a statistical analysis kind of guy, I typically don't bet on the outlier, right? You're not going to come out and win that bet more often than not. So, and sometimes you're going to miss on some guys. I think personally, I'm okay living on missing with those guys as long as I'm not wasting the investment just because I have a feeling that this outlier is going to get it right. And obviously there's a point where you overlook it. Like if Anquan Bolden had amazing tape, blah, blah. AJ Epinesa, really actually pretty good for the Bills. Not a first round pick because of the parameters that he ran, but in the second round, he's a quality starting edge rusher. So that's about where you want to go.
You cannot build a team on the exceptions to the rule. Can't do it. I mentioned Bailey Zappi, I some comments on my YouTube page about, I was like, I think he's a little underarmed and a little small.
Yep.
And who comes up naturally? You mean underarmed and undersized like Drew Brees? I'm like, oh.
Did Drew Brees have
Drew Brees has plenty of arm.
I was going to say, that dude had a whip.
Yeah,
Let's
he
be
has
real.
Plenty of arm.
Yeah.
And second of all, you take Bailey Zappi is going to become the Drew Brees. I'll take that he's not, and let's put a year's salary on it. Or shut up about the Drew Brees. I'm like, every white kid's dad in middle suburban America when I was scouting colleges for college recruiting. I'm like, oh, he's a little short, just good high school quarterback, basically. Well, what about Drew Brees?
Yeah. What about him?
What about Drew Brees? There's one of those. And when was Drew Brees drafted? That was about 20 years ago.
Yep. Yeah, we Scott and I have done this long enough that we know that there are no guarantees in the future, right? The timeline can be wild and wacky, without a doubt. But we base our decisions on probability. Good process typically leads to good results. So you always want to do that. We got Travis coming back in. I realize we have other needs this offseason, but any chance we sign Brandon Scherf, I believe he's a free agent. I think he's finally a free agent after the Washington football, I guess the Commanders now, franchise tagged him like 8 times. He's almost 30 years old, and he's about to hit his first time hitting free agency. Man, I really like Brandon Scherf. Obviously, I used to see him at Hy-Vee when I worked there back in grad school. Man, what a unit. God, an incredible size of a person. But Brandon Scherff, I'd be interested. Maybe that's me being biased. Do you want to pay a guard big money? Probably not. I need to see what happens with the Aaron Rodgers and the quarterback decision first before talking about allocating big money, big investment to the interior offensive line. But Brandon Scherff killed it in the outside zone scheme at Iowa. He's played multiple schemes at Washington football team. I would be interested for sure. I just think he is going to be extremely expensive, and I probably am not looking to pay a guard that much money. Given the assets the Broncos already have there, they're still paying Graham Glasgow. Drew Brees is about to be a free agent, et cetera, et cetera. But won't lie, getting Brandon Scherff in here would be a lot of fun because
Brandon Scherff made double your next active player last year.
Yeah,
he's expensive. By the time it got to active, Graham Glasgow was your number one, and then Brandon Scherff would be your number two. He made $18 million last year as a guard. Mm-hmm. Your next closest active, and he's gone. The next two from last year are Kyle Fuller and Melvin Gordon. They're gone and gone. Yeah. And then Graham Glasgow had a $12 million cap hit, and the next closest was Kareem Jackson at $5 million.
Yeah.
That'd be a tough one to swallow, honestly. We talk about upsetting the pay scale. If you do it with a quarterback that's got a couple rings on his fingers and some MVP trophies, and he's slinging that over his shoulder, and he walks in, you pay him $30 million. That's one thing. When you do it with a guard, and I'm making 4 and this guy's making 18, you can upset the locker room a little bit on that too. Appreciate the question and the stars, Travis. There you go. And that one's for you, Nick.
John Houston coming in. Do you guys like Chad Muma or Leo Chanel on the second? Leo Chanel is very fun and talented. I worry that he is pretty scheme specific. I think he almost has to play in a Patriot style scheme where those guys are much more funneling downhill between the tackles and being like A or B gaps, blitzers, stunting, twisting, delayed blitzes versus the sideline to sideline speed. I prefer Chad Muma. I would love Leo Chanel if we were running the Patriot style scheme. I mean, the Patriots linebackers, they're doing stuff that no other team's doing right now. They said, oh, everybody's playing too high. We're going to go play man coverage and play with single high safety and do a lot of versatile chess pieces in the front seven. And their linebackers are all like 6'2", 265 pounds, where the league is going to like, the 6 foot 230 guys. So Leo Chanel is about 6'2", 265. He's that kind of guy. Chad Muma, great tester, athletic. I love him sideline to sideline. I do think he needs to work on a little bit of physicality coming downhill and playing in the box, but I think he has the instincts and athleticism to take a swing on him day 2 if he's there. I'm not going to use a day 1 pick on any linebacker personally this year unless one absolutely blows you away and you understand that this year's draft class is not as talented. So maybe the risk is worth it if you do fall in love with a guy. Again, probability speaking, day 1 linebacker, not a great investment, off-ball linebacker specifically. But this is a good transition here to Paton. George Paton talking about the inside linebacker position in his interview because we still haven't talked about very much of this because you guys are killing it with the supers. George Paton, interview on Broncos.com. This is what he has to say about the linebacking core for the Broncos. So we have Josie Jewell and A.J. Johnson, who are our free agents. So we'll look at them. I like both of them. The coaches have to watch them, but obviously we missed them when they were out. I know Josie was kind of the glue guy, and A.J. is a real physical presence in the run game. I mean, we lost those guys pretty early. Josie week 2 and A.J. against the Raiders. Losing those guys, only a benefit. The only benefit is that some of the younger guys got to play. The Baron Brownings, who showed flashes of being a really good player. Jonas Griffith, I mean, this guy came out of nowhere. He's all over the field. He can really run. Both those guys can really run. They're athletic. They can cover. Obviously, they have some things to work on, so we're excited about them. I do think it's a pretty good draft class. There's some guys here I really like, so it's kind of in flux because we could potentially sign Josie back, AJ back, and then you have some younger guys in the mix with Browning and Jonas and some other guys that we have. Okay, so this first to me, thanks for your service, Justin Stranad. We'll see wherever you end up next if you make the roster next year. Had a chance, did not look good. So 5th round pick at the linebacker. That's the bet you make sometimes. I agree with him completely. This is an incredible linebacker class. The depth is insane. I think you could see up to 12 off-ball linebackers go in the first 100 picks, which is crazy, but I think it really is that good of a class. I do like that what he said, though, that Josie's kind of the glue guy. If they can bring back Josie, especially these younger guys, and if you're going to draft a guy decently early as well, I would love to have him be the veteran presence there. I think he would help a lot with the new defensive coordinator coming in. Maybe this is just me being Iowa biased, but again, I talked with people in that Broncos organization, and I think it was Ed Donatel who's getting an interview for the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. Congrats to Ed Donatel. That Josie Jewell was like working with he's first on the bus, sitting with all those guys, going through film with these guys, even though he's out and he's an impending free agent. He could just be focused on getting himself ready for next year. He was bought in on the team and the development of the guys around him. So I would love to bring Josie back and then draft a guy in round 2 through 5. If one fell to you that you like, that'd be my personal strategy. But we'll see. I think that Paton hit the nail on the head here, that you're losing those two guys. When you lost them, the defensive structure fell apart essentially, and it took a little bit for them to counteract to get back going again. But it's a spot where they probably could use a free agent and a draft pick.
And I think you brought up a couple of good points in there. One, Donatel talked about Josie Jewell during the season too in an interview. So that's not the first time I've heard him say that about how much work he put in and what he meant. I'd love to have him back with the young linebackers. I think you need a veteran presence there, and I don't think he's going to be that expensive. Specifically, inside linebackers aren't that expensive anyway, especially coming off an injury. I thought he was playing better than Alexander Johnson when they were both on the field at the same time. So I think he's more valuable to the team. And Alexander Johnson, I think his Q rating whatsoever, I think he's going to command a little bit more money. He'll be a little bit more expensive with one more deal, and he's going to be chasing that contract a little bit more. But you mentioned Ed Donatel again. That's the point I was going to make, Peter. So you're right on that. Was watch out where Donatel ends up, because he might want to bring in one of his guys to help implement the system, to help get everybody else, that coach on the field. So keep an eye on that. To when we talk about connections and that type of thing, watch where Ed Donatel goes. And that will probably be your biggest competition for bringing Josie Jewell back. Good comment, Peter.
If he goes to the Vikings, I do not know if the Vikings have the cash situation to pay Josie Jewell. They are paying Anthony Barr huge money. They're paying Eric Kendricks huge money. They need work in the defensive tackle room and the secondary terribly. They got to figure out what's going on with Kirk Cousins' $45 million cap hit. Vikings are not in a great cap situation at all. So you could see Jewell come in still, but
Jewell's base was 2.2 last year.
4th round pick. I think he'll get 5 this year.
I don't.
You don't?
Coming off a season-ending injury, I don't. I really don't. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We will see.
For sure. And I see a comment here from Falling Sloth saying Josie Jewell is underrated. He is an amazing coverage backer, but solid there and great in other ways. He was, I think, Pro Football Focus's number 1 rated coverage backer. Very small sample size, of course. But for the linebacker position, it's much more about zone instincts and limiting yards after catch, because I don't care who your linebacker is. There's a reason teams are going to more dime looks in the defensive, their defensive fronts. Linebackers are always a mismatch against pass catchers in the open field. That's just the reality of it. So Josie Jewell being able to be instinctual, limit yards after catch, being good passing off, crossing receivers in the zone. He's very good at that, and he did that a lot at Iowa as well. So I would love to have him back. My biggest concern about Josie Jewell is he's always going to be limited as far as the athleticism, but it is the length coming downhill. You don't see as many explosive plays behind the line of scrimmage, because he just sometimes can get engulfed by blockers or get knocked off by blockers because he's a little bit smaller. And we have a comment here we got Chad coming in saying Ed's in Seattle, isn't he? He agreed to be a defensive associate for Seattle, so he is technically in Seattle right now. But the Vikings just requested an interview him for his defensive coordinator. So it could be like, if you recall, Cliff Kingsbury getting fired from Texas A&M, offensive coordinator for USC, head coach for Arizona, same offseason. Better opportunity comes up, maybe going to take it. So
you're not going to deny him that right. Even in Seattle, you say, hey, we get it. We understand. USC, the University of Spoiled Children, they might not have been quite as forgiving of Cliff Kingsbury at the time. But no, I'm just kidding. I got a lot of USC friends. So living out there in not too far from there. But Anthony Edwards coming in. So just getting in. We'll have to rewatch the first half. We'll hit us up with any comments and stuff. So just curious what Scott thought of Ellerbe around the 5th compared to reaching for the top 6 quarterbacks. Thanks for the show. You two were great. We'll appreciate it. You've watched Ellerbe, so I'm going to go back to you on Ellerbe on this. But I'll tell you what, I'm of the opinion that you want to wait till the 3rd or later for a quarterback and see if one of those guys falls. If you like a guy, I'm not sold on Bailey Zappi, but if you took a 7th on him, a 6th on him, I'd be okay with that. Desmond Ridder in the 3rd, and I'm really, really interested.
Yeah.
Even Carson Strong to a certain extent in the 3rd, but not at 9. There isn't anybody I want you to take at 9. And maybe not even with your first pick in the 2nd round. So you start hitting the 3rd round, late 2nd, because you've got 2 2nd-round picks. Then I start getting a little more interested. Now, is Ellerbe, for Anthony's question here, is Ellerbe a candidate for 4th and beyond that you would like to see as a Bronco?
Yeah, he's a little bit in the same body build as a Sam Howell, where I think he's a little taller, 6'1", 6'2", and thick. I
So
think
they measure him for real.
Yeah. He looks big, a little bigger on tape.
I'm joking. Joking.
But he's got an NFL arm. I like his release. I was surprised that he didn't go back to college. Apparently, Oklahoma was sniffing around him hard if he became a transfer portal kind of guy. They would have liked to have brought him in. That's just heard it from multiple people connected to that kind of thing. So definitely a talented kid. Definitely somebody I think you could swing on, maybe even the very end of round 3, because he does actually have, I think, the NFL arm and size in this draft class. If you want to get that guy, typically you're going to get him. I would take him before Bailey Zappe personally. I believe he's just a redshirt sophomore, so that's why you didn't see him at the Senior Bowl in comparison to a Bailey Zappe. I will say, though, watching Western Michigan, the real star there is, I like LB, don't get me wrong, but the real star there is Sky Moore. If you get a chance to watch some Western Michigan, if you're a team that's hungry for some wide receiver help, Sky Moore, 2 Ys. He's exceptional. I'm really, really impressed by him. I think he'll probably go in the top, definitely in the top 2 rounds. Peter Milton, let's give special teams some loves. Do you draft a punter, kicker, kick return specialist this year? Possibly. I will give a shout out to Marcus Jones, cornerback from the University of Houston. Somebody asked who's the quickest, twitchest cornerback in this year's class. I'm going to give Marcus Jones a shout out. The big issue for Marcus Jones is that he is tiny. He is 5'8", about 170 pounds. Probably going to be limited to the slot. But he is a dynamic returner and he is tenacious. So end of round 3, middle of round 3, I'd be interested. I think Dane Brugler mocked him to the Broncos the end of round 2. That's a little bit for me. For a pure slot guy with his size limitations, size does matter, length does matter in the defensive backfield. So concerns me a bit. As far as punter and kicker, sorry, Peter, you are barking up the wrong tree here. I could not tell you. I'm not sitting here with the stopwatch measuring hang time or kicking stuff. It's just there's only so many hours in the day, and I don't need to. I don't know enough to scout those guys, and I don't have the time to do so as well. So it's possible, sure, but I cannot tell you who's the guy there.
I can't remember the guy's name that's at Utah. Britton Covey could come out. He could come back for another year. 5'8", 170 pounds. He's older. I think I think he went on a Mormon mission, or he could play for a while, but I think he's going to be 25 or 26 years old. 25, I think, by the time he comes. But if I want to get a 1-year, not a 1-year deal, but a 1 contract guy who could help me immediately, and he's available in the 6th round, yeah, that's worth a 6th round pick. If I could get him for 3-4 years as a return specialist, absolutely. So keep an eye on Britton Covey. If he decides, and I don't know for sure if he's decided to come out or not, but he's someone that tore up Ohio State. And everybody's talking this guy. I'm like, well, he's a grown man. He's 24 years old out there, but he is very talented as a return man. So I would throw a 6th or 7th rounder on a return guy for sure.
Yeah. Just a shout out, because I actually do have a punter I want to give a shout out to. Iowa had a really good punter this year. He's the Australian style guy, but Iowa had, I think, one of the best special teams in football. And the only time Iowa's punter was out punted this season, and it's a big joke in Iowa, #punting is winning. Colorado State. Colorado State's punter, Ryan Stonehouse, what a boomer of a kick he has. I saw a game where Colorado State was playing Vanderbilt, and he kicked an 81-yard punt. So this guy has a massive leg. Now, playing in altitude at Fort Collins, for sure, that helps his net averages. But just wanted to give a shout-out to the semi-local kid.
And the University of Georgia's Jake Carmada had a nice wind at his back in Mobile and was hitting 80-yarders. He was hitting it from the 10 to the 10. So it was 70 yards. It was 80 yards in the air, and it was a 70-yard punt that he was hitting with a nice wind at his back. But he can hit it a little bit too. But I'm not too worried about. It's unbelievably hard to scout specialists like that, because there are thousands of guys that can kick a 50-yard field goal.
Yep.
I mean, if you gave me 6 months, I think I could still kick a 50-yard field goal off a tee. I'm almost 50 years old. I think I could. It's not that hard. Doing it under pressure, you don't know until they've done it. So it's tough. It's tough to scout kickers just based on leg.
Mark Schrader coming back in saying, just want you guys to know how much I appreciate all the insights. Thank you. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate you.
I hope you understand how much we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Again, it's fun for us, but it's also, it's also a way to earn a living as well. And we're not doing that without all of y'all, without your support. So thank you so much.
And Scott, do you hear that music?
Is that the closer coming in?
No, it's the theme music for drafting a quarterback in 2023 because the class looks a lot better. John Houston coming in asking, did Tanner McKee or Spencer Rattler declare? No, they did not. And there's 2 more names to watch for next year in the 2023 class, which has way more talent than the 2022 class on paper. Even, you don't know that. We knew pretty well. Obviously, you can't know the future, but we knew pretty well a year ago that 2022 would probably be a down year. Maybe Spencer Rattler or Sam Howell becomes a good quarterback worth the first overall pick. Zoinks, that did not happen. So both of these guys, 2 names to keep an eye on for 2023, outside of the obvious Bryce Hall and CJ Stroud, who raised the ceiling of that class exponentially compared to the other guys here. I don't know how much more supers we have, but there are a few more positions we do want to talk about here.
I think we're caught up. Spencer, when he lost his job, people were still talking about him, and he lost his job to a really good freshman,
Caleb Williams,
who I think is also transferred out of there.
USC. He followed Lincoln Riley to USC.
Followed his coach. Spencer, I believe, ended up at the other USC Southeast, and he's at South Carolina.
Yep.
Tanner McKee's got an image rehabilitation job to do. Yep. A little big-headed. Love his arm talent. I like the moxie, but he's got some maturity issues that he needs to work out. So playing another year in college and becoming a professional, so to speak, he's been paid. Becoming a good pro will do him a world of good. Good gracious, Ethan!
Wow. My 50th birthday present to Broncos
Saturday. Speaking of almost 50, I think Ethan said Saturday.
Yeah.
50th birthday. I'm sorry, brother. There's no masking 50. I was okay with 40. I was 40, but 50 sound like an OG at that point. There's no hiding that one. We're actually officially grown-ups. The dirty secret from older guys is we still mentally feel like we're about 16.
Yeah.
But 50's 50, dude. I love it. Congratulations. There were times, I don't know about you, but there were times when I was pretty sure I wasn't going to make 50. So congratulations. I see a couple grays on my chin, and I'm like, hey, I made it. I've made it this far.
Thank you so much.
They're like battle scars.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ethan. Happy birthday to you. You've been such a huge supporter of these shows, the morning shows especially, and I don't even think there's enough words we can say to show our gratitude. So again, just a simple thanks, but it goes well beyond that.
I can't wait to get over to England and buy you a cup of coffee. I'm looking forward to going back. I haven't been back since fall of 19, I think it was, right before lockdown, or was that 20? I've already lost my days.
I don't know. It's as far as I'm concerned, it is March 622nd, 2022 still. It's just that we've never left March 2020. So that means I'm still 28. Hey, but happy 50th birthday, Ethan. Thank you so much. If I get over to England, who knows when that'll be. But cask ale, I'll get you a cask ale for sure. Those are the fun ones. We're all caught up, I believe, and also 100 on your 50th birthday. You could have done 50, but you doubled it. So God bless you. Couple more things.
100. May you make a happy, healthy 100.
Absolutely, for sure. Manifest that stuff. Couple more positions here I wanted to get to. Scott, I don't think we're gonna have time to get all of them. So do you want to talk outside linebacker, right tackle, tight end, or wide receiver?
Oh, wide receiver.
Wide receiver. Okay. So Paton, again, interview with Denver Broncos media to ask about the Broncos wide receiver and the flexibility that they have with the deals. He says, I think it's great. I mean, that's one of the reasons we locked them up. We knew they were 2 of our better young players, talented players. The reason you lock them up early is because if you get them on the open market, you're probably going to have to pay them more than you want. So they're more expensive once they get to the market, and we wanted to lock them up. talking around there, Paton, but yes. Then that's something Elway did not do pretty consistently, is locking guys up early. However, with how the Broncos pass game struggled down the stretch, maybe you could have even gotten them a little cheaper, but I digress. We'll see. It helps not only with our cap, but it gives us flexibility to go attack other positions. And talking about the wide receiver position, once you get to free agency, all bets are off. Could be a bidding war, et cetera, et cetera. He's still really high on the Broncos receivers in Nathaniel Hackett's system. They didn't perform as well as they wanted. I know that. I've talked to them, but we need to be better around them as well. Talking about the quarterback position mostly. We need to block better. We need to get better quarterback play. We need to be better as a whole, and we'll get the best out of them. But they're really young. They're really talented. I still think there's huge upside with all three of those receivers, talking Judy, Patrick, and Sutton. Doing this coaching search, you learn a lot about your team because each candidate goes through your team. And one of the attractive parts of our team was our weapons. Talked about receivers, backs, tight ends. So, I do think we have some talent there, especially at receiver. We need to get the best out of them, and I think Nathaniel and his staff will. So
when Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton were signed to contract extensions, it told me that Paton had assured them that not only are you going to get paid, we're going to pay you some good money, but we are going to invest in the offensive side of this team. So for me, it was, notice who made that announcement. It was the general manager who talked about it. Fangio wasn't hardly mentioned at all. Quarterback play wasn't really mentioned at all. It was about bright, young talent and building around them. But also the thing is, again, like you're saying, is if you got Judy, Patrick, and Sutton, Fant, Okawebunam, there's Javonte, there's only one ball.
Yeah.
There's only one ball. So if you need to package one of those guys around, their dead cap spaces aren't so bad.
No.
Their dead cap numbers aren't so bad that they can't be moved.
Yep.
And obviously you don't want to sign a guy to a longer term contract and say thank you, goodbye, but it's possible for sure.
Yeah, definitely possible. It's a fun room. It's a talented room. And it's one of the reasons that the Broncos would link to these a lot of veteran quarterbacks, right? I don't think you're going to get a rookie to come in here and maximize these wide receivers in their windows, which is next 2 years, right? You're probably, with a rookie quarterback drafted this year, you're probably talking more 2024, get up and go. I don't see a Joe Burrow immediately come in and be that kind of guy in this class. So probably talking 2024. And by that point, what do these wide receivers look like? What does the core look like? So that's why a veteran makes a lot of sense for this Broncos team.
And who's going to be throwing the ball? Jay Mills O'Ryan comes in and says, honestly, wouldn't you rather have Russell Wilson instead of Aaron Rodgers? It may be less of a price tag and he'll be here longer, or is Russ coming here a long shot? I think it is a long shot. And yes, I probably would rather have Russell Wilson. There's been some talk, maybe his declining, the injuries. I'm like, his declining is still top 5.
Yeah.
And being reinvigorated, I still think he's a premier quarterback who's got 7 or 8 more years. So yes, I probably would rather have Russell Wilson. I don't think it'd be any cheaper for the reasons you mentioned, though. It might even be more.
Yeah. Thing about Aaron Rodgers is that the Broncos have there's been a lot of flirtations back and forth there. You have Nathaniel Hackett now. You have some other Packers stuff here going on. You have the ability to bring in Devontae Adams with him. All these things make you a really unique landing spot for Aaron Rodgers. And would I rather have Russell Wilson? It's 1A and 1B for me. I don't give a hoot. Whichever one signs the dotted line first, God bless you. It's like a hot housing market right now. It's like, I'll take whoever signs the lease or the contract or whatever first, you're in. God bless you. We love you. First come, first serve, because either of them are big upgrades and give you a great chance for the Broncos going forward. Russell Wilson gives you a little bit longer term, but Aaron Rodgers gives you a top 3 quarterback versus Russell Wilson, who's a top 8. So, I'll take either, but both of them I think are probably still enough of a long shot that I'm not holding out for one over the other. Give me one. God bless. Let's go. Have a great time.
Yeah. And it's Jeremy says, which one would you rather have? Yes. Okay. It's one of those, when I used to talk to kids and their families about recruiting, and, they'd ask me, Scott, what do you think I should do? And I would never talk one school or the other. I'm like, it's going to be a hard choice, but you can't lose. If I had a hat, I dropped 2 names in my coffee mug and pulled one out, and it was, the 2 names were Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, and I could get one of those guys, I win.
Yep.
So I probably rather would have Russell Wilson, assuming that the price tag was similar, but for the reasons you mentioned, the longevity on it, I think. But again, yes, either one for sure.
Yeah, it's like, hey, Nick, celebrity crush, Keira Knightley or Jennifer Aniston?
Okay.
Yes. God, yes, please.
A little old for you, dude.
I was just trying to go. I mean,
oh, you did say crush though.
They're ageless. Yes, those are the God. Money will do crazy things for how you look in Hollywood. Yeah, guys, we still want to talk tight end, right tackle, and outside linebacker, but we probably should
do without the read. Without all the talk. I think Paton basically said that Bobby Massey did some good things and could be brought back.
He also said that he kind of regretted, though, not investing in the right tackle position last season. He said it's been multiple years where it's like, that's one I wish I had made an actual investment in.
And good for him, because what have I said? My biggest criticism of him, and I think he's done a phenomenal job, of George Paton, is if you've got that money, why didn't you spend more of it into the right tackle position? And I don't know that he tried. I don't know that he tried. I don't know that how much he tried and where he failed. But what good is having $20 million in dead cap space if I got a hole in my team? In cap space, if I've got a hole in my team. So I think that was, for me, his, people talk about, oh, you bring in Teddy, that was his biggest mistake. No, it wasn't. He brought in an experienced backup quarterback for a song. Mm-hmm. How it was used is a different thing. But if I can get an experienced starter when I need another quarterback on my roster for what you paid for Teddy, that's good business. Now, having money and not using it to upgrade an obvious deficiency in a team, that was my question. So good for him. Good for him. I agree with him. I've been saying it all year.
And you remember after the Broncos draft, when they traded up for Javonte Williams, my one caveat was there was one player on the board that personally I probably would have rather have made that investment in, and that was Tevin Jenkins, who started at left tackle there for the Bears at the end. Now, he did have a back injury and didn't play till the end, but he looked solid and he looked mean, and I think he's a better right tackle than he is a left tackle. That being said, the scheme change, Tevin Jenkins is a better gap player than he is an outside zone, so maybe not the best fit there with that going on. Samuel Cosmi actually would have been the better pick there in hindsight with the scheme now.
Spencer Brown was my guy.
Oh, yeah.
Spencer Brown was my guy, and I know he was available because he didn't go until about 92nd to the Bills.
Broncos had their eyes on him, the pick. Yeah. So tackle is the big one there for me. Broncos do want to invest in the tackle position. We'll see where they go in that one if the Broncos have their pick there. There's definitely a chance that they take one at 9 if he's available. I just saw that, not to be a spoiler here, you guys can check out Jordan Reed's draft, but his top 10 was posted, and he had 3 tackles going in the first 5 picks. And Evan Neal going 1, Ike Ekwonu going 4, and Charles Cross going 5. And after that, no more tackles. So those seem to be the big 3. Charles Cross is more hotly debated than the other 2 because Charles Cross's game, especially as a run blocker, is almost purely projection because he played in Mike Leach's air raid system. But he's a really smooth pass blocker, has the tools, has improved dramatically. So if either of those guys are there at 9, honestly, I don't mind it. I know that Eric Trickle does not like Charles Cross at all. And I know that Daniel Jeremiah actually had Charles Cross listed below Raymond and Trevor Penning. So there seems to be a little bit of debate on Cross, but any of those guys I'd honestly be fine with at 9.
Rewatching all my Senior Bowl stuff, Raymond really stood out. He did. I was like, who's this guy? Who's this? It was 75 or 76 with a purple helmet, with like a Central Michigan. It was kind of off blue. I'm like, this guy keeps showing up. So I'll have some stuff on him as well. This is Trevor Penning, please. Again, I think Trevor Penning is a right-in starter, even if it's guard. Yep. You could have used some of Trevor Penning at guard last year. I was critical of the Broncos several times for getting bullied in the trenches. Trevor Penning's not getting bullied. You need some street thug on your team. You do. Yep. And he plays that way. He's got some thug in him, and I mean that as a compliment. You need a little nasty down in there in the trenches. It can't all be finesse and type stuff. And I know that's silly talking about guys who are 310 pounds, butting heads for a living, but there's still a different level. And Trevor Penning, even if he ends up playing guard, I think if you drafted him, I think he's a starter.
Yeah. The thing with Penning is you're probably going to have to dial back some because he was also an extremely penalized player at UNI. And, holdings and personal fouls really make it hard to get first downs. You guys saw that with Garrett Bowles. Back to Raymond, he really lines up with Garrett Bowles. 25 years old, played tackle only for like 2 years now. Going to be a little bit older, has almost the same measurements as Garrett Bowles, moves like Garrett Bowles. So he's one that's a lot of fun. I think he's going to go in the top 20 in this class. I think he'll be one of those teams will take him there. The other two names that stick out for me for the outside zone, specifically for the Broncos, out of the Senior Bowl, Max Mitchell, University of Louisiana. I think his mom made a Twitter account and is going through liking everything, because I had one person that liked all my Max Mitchell tweets, and I went to their account, and everything they like and retweet is Max Mitchell related. So he's one that interests me there, day two. And then there's Braxton Jones, I believe is the name. Massive mover, Southern Utah. And he is a athlete with some length. Probably needs a year to work on the functional strength there, but he actually has the requisite movement skills to play the outside zone, to climb and get outside the hash marks when you need to for that zone stretch. So he interests me a lot as well. Looking for those athletes, right? The prototype that I'm looking for. You mentioned Spencer Brown. Definitely he's one, but I think the ones that people kind of probably watched in college a bit, especially if you're a draft person, that can translate to that position. Brian O'Neill, like super athlete, Pitt now with the Vikings. I think he just got a big contract. And Sam Cosmi, those like fluid movers, good pass pro, but really can just climb the level in the run game. Edge rusher, the Broncos he talked really highly about Bradley Chubb, who had 2 surgeries on his foot, wasn't 100%. Excited to see what he can look like this season. Complimented Malik Reed. You know how I am on Malik Reed. He's not a quality starter at all. And then Coop being a good guy. Broncos need to invest in the edge rushing position, no doubt about it. I'm even of the opinion that if you like 2 in the top 100, take them both. This is a good enough class. Take 2, man. You get after the quarterback, get young there, and then you set yourself up not only to be better at the position in 2022, but now you have multiple options for starters in 2023, where right now it's just this emoji guy right now for the Broncos starters at edge rusher after this season.
If I had my preference, I would probably go free agency at right tackle. I need a little more experience there, and I would probably invest draft picks into the edge positions, assuming how the board falls and what I'm able to get. That would be my preference. I want an experienced offensive tackle sooner rather than later. And guys, if you're looking around over the cap or spot rack or anything like that, make sure you're looking at left tackles too, because a lot of those guys in reserves, they play right tackle and left tackle, but they're misqualified. So I got on chat a little bit about for that when he shows that, and he just shows right tackles. I'm like, most of those left tackles that are free agents are candidates to play right tackle as well. After the Senior Bowl, what do you think of Daniel Falele? Mammoth of a man, Minnesota, 6'8". What was his official measurement? 6'8" and 1/8. So he's over 6'8".
Yep.
387 pounds with an 11-inch hand.
Yeah.
11-inch hand. Think 11-inch hand. Think aliens. You know, those things that get on your. Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's kind of. Gross.
I loved Alien growing up. That's one of my favorites.
86-inch wingspan, so 7'2" wingspan. Oh, right tackle for sure. I'd love to see him at 360. Guard possibly if he can get low enough. I don't know if there's a big that's too big for offensive guard, but he's really good in one direction. He has a little bit of trouble changing directions. So he can get an edge rusher. If an edge rusher tries to beat him outside, he can protect the outside because he's got the length and enough feet to take care of that. But when that edge rusher gives him one of these, a head fake for those of y'all listening after, and fakes outside and comes back inside, he has a little bit of trouble changing directions on that. So it makes me a little hesitant to want to invest a high pick on him, knowing that he's a little bit more limited there. But when he engages, it's over. It's over. Once he's got his hands on you, once you're engaged, he wins. Yep. And that's a nice trait to have.
Yeah, you're definitely 100% right. The thing I was thinking was he gives up his inside shoulder way too often, doesn't have the change of direction ability. If he figures out how to, and I'm sure a coach will come in and work on some technique with him so that way he doesn't give up that inside as much, he's going to be very good. I do not think he is an outside zone fit at all. I think he's a gap guy. You know, let him get his hands on somebody and then drive block them versus climbing to a space. That's probably not his game. And Minnesota, I hate to compliment them because I really do not like their head coach, whose name is escaping me right now. He got that really bad like used car salesman vibe, you know, or just like that phony energy. It's like, oh, not for me. But gosh, what's his name? Bald head. Anyway, I don't think Falele is a great fit for the Broncos in the outside zone scheme. Some people, he's massive. Mekhi Becton. He does not move like Mekhi Becton. It's much more of Orlando Brown Jr. Type of fit there, but he's still probably a year or two away from that. So fun player, still pretty raw. And the other thing is Minnesota's tape, this is the point I was going to make. It's so hard to evaluate him because how much RPO game they use, he doesn't have very much like classic NFL drop back pass reps because the RPO, the edge defenders have to play more disciplined in their gap rather than pin their ears back. So the drop back pass game, not really featured from Minnesota, and you don't have many reps with Flele there. So a little bit of a concern there for me. Because of the scheme fit, because of the questions with him, because he's probably a project, he's going to go earlier than I would be willing to take him. But I'm pulling for him because the more freaky type of players and body types that we have in the NFL, the more fun it is. I want to be able to hear, who's a team that could take him. Gap power scheme. I don't even know.
He'll end up with the he's the kind of guy with the physical measurements. He'll end up with the Ravens or the Steelers and be a star.
I was going to say the Patriots.
And people say, how does he fall that far? They always get guys like this, and they always work out.
Yep. Another name that makes a lot of sense with fitting him up, Trent Brown. University of Florida, fell to the 6th round. Absolutely massive. Can he move? Well, he's massive and he's got length. And if you play him to his strengths, he can be a unique player. So maybe the Patriots as well. One last question here. Will the Broncos re-sign Kenny Young? Possibly. I think Kenny Young is probably, based on George Paton's discussions, not even mentioning him in the interview, I would say Kenny Young is the least likely guy to be signed. And I thought that was maybe a little bit of a disservice to Kenny Young to not even mention him in that interview. But, we can glean some stuff from that. The fact that he wasn't even mentioned. So probably not.
It may have been an oversight, but Freud says there are no accidents or something along those lines.
Yeah.
I really, really liked Jonas Griffith. I really did. He was big, he's fast, 6'4", 200. He was about 260. I mean, he was big, and showed all kinds of. So I think his upside is his curve is just going to keep going up. So I'm high on him. I like those low draft guys with high upside like he is.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Well, guys, we are, as Peter Middleton said, we are 80 minutes in, but having too much fun, too much to talk about. We didn't even talk about the Peyton's quotes on the edge rush position or tight end, et cetera, et cetera. But that's okay. We want to get out of here, and we got things to do. So we appreciate the heck out of you guys. Make sure you're following Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell, MHH. While you're over there, make sure you're following our Twitter accounts at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are joining us on Facebook, appreciate everybody swinging by and dropping these stars. Does us a heck of a lot of good. I mean, honestly, I've said this before. Some of you guys have heard this before, but when we first approached Chad about the morning show, we're like, we have no idea if there'll be any audience for this. It might just be Scott and I, talking draft prospects amongst ourselves, just a conference. We're having a Zoom meeting here talking football. But you guys have made this really, really enjoyable and a lot of eyeballs on it. I think it's probably one of it's not a Huddle Up podcast with, the whatever shows they have a week, but we're skyrocket, baby. We're flying, too big to fail at this point. So appreciate you guys so much. Make sure you're following us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as /Mile High Huddle Pod. I've asked before, keep asking. It's still my birthday month, so I'm going to keep leaning into it. And as Scott said, we have a lot of after the fact listeners. Go to iTunes, Spotify, wherever, leave a 5-star rating and a review. Say Nick sent you. Say, love the shows, but Broncos for breakfast is my favorite. Or, we need less Nick on this channel. What the heck are we doing? That guy, way too much Iowa propaganda. Nobody cares, Nick. Shut up. I'm fine with it. Give as long as it comes with a 5-star rating. Shoot at me. I don't care. It's also make sure this is a ticker now. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share on YouTube as well. I don't know how this one changed.
Fancy.
And yeah, very fancy. And also follow Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where a lot of stuff's going on there. Check out all the Senior Bowl highlights, et cetera, et cetera. Not live yesterday, but we will be back on next Wednesday. And next Monday, Scott, I know we teased it this last week, but then I did the quarterback review, one-man show, haven't taken a breath in 2 years type of show. Next Monday, I think we should do a mock draft.
Okay.
Mock draft Mondays.
Mock draft Mondays. All right.
Yep.
All right. I'm looking forward to, we're getting close to Combine. We're getting close to Pro Days.
Yeah.
So, we'll have a lot of reactions from that. I know, as far as the Senior Bowl is, Micah Parsons hit my radar in a hurry, him and Odafe Oweh, when the Penn State Pro Days came out. So we'll have all kinds of things. We have plenty to talk about, without a doubt. Yeah. It's like you wonder, we're almost 90 minutes in here, Nick. Don't you have something else to do?
If I could stay here and be paid to talk football, I would do a 10-hour show every day. I'm not even kidding. I also want to give a shout out here. David Carmelo coming in here saying edge at 9 is very much on the table and don't pretend otherwise.
For sure.
Not pretending here, David. It's definitely on the table. That said, we'll get into this on Mock Draft Monday, I'm sure. But this class, after Thibodeau and Hutchinson, I'm curious if the third tier is just as good as the second tier. Talking David Ojabo, George Karlaftis, Trevon Walker versus the likes of Sam Williams, Arnold Ebiketie, Jermaine Johnson, Boye Mafe. Like, this is a fantastic
People keep saying this draft is down. I don't buy it. I don't buy it just because the top 5 isn't as good as the top 5 last year. I think the back 10 might be better. The second round might be better because of all those guys you have in the trenches.
Yep.
I'm not buying this. This is a down draft. I think this is a great draft to have a bunch of picks. I really do.
It's a good class to have a lot of top 100 picks. I don't think that the top 10 picks hit as heavy this season.
Yeah, which doesn't make it a down draft. It might be, you might not have your 5 Hall of Famers in the top 10, but when you're a team that needs a bunch of good players, you can really get better in this draft. That's a good draft to me.
Yep, absolutely. Well, we'll see how it plays out. Jeremy coming in with the love you guys. Have a great Super Bowl weekend. It's also Valentine's, Jeremy. If you're going to be showing some love here, send me a card. No, okay. Thank you guys so much. We're going to get on out of here. We'll see you again on Monday. Make sure you're hanging out tonight with Chad and Zach at the Huddle Up podcast. You guys are great. Choose kindness. Enjoy Super Bowl weekend. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. We'll see you on Valentine's Day. And go Broncos.